So hi there, good afternoon and welcome to Boxing Media Hub. We're proudly in partnership with Falcon Contracting and Jam's Boxing Chat. We're back with the Boxing Hour, episode 12, featuring myself, Jam, and my main man from Cincinnati, Ohio, Mr. Serhan. How are you today, big man?
I'm doing good over here. How about yourself across the Atlantic?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. It's a little dark out. I've had to close the curtains and put my light on because it's so dreary. It's just too dark, so
Well,
not
it's that time of year
perfect.
where it starts to get dark a little earlier than usual.
It is, matey, it is. But it's still humid as hell, though. It's still very warm. It's just trash weather, trash
Right.
weather.
Yes.
Anyway, we're here to talk boxing for the next hour. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hit that subscribe button if you do, please. We really appreciate it. And check out Serhan as he does his write-ups on
We like sports.
We Like Sports. Yeah, he does some great stuff. He does British fights as well as American fights, as well as classics. So check that out. Thank you
And if
again.
you're and if you're into other sports, my show Serhan on X has gone full circle now. And I'm about to launch the new show on the new XTV app coming up called Serhan on XTV. It's going to be a joint venture coming up. If you're into all sports like American football, basketball, even some boxing with, some soccer with you guys across the pond, join in.
Sounds good, matey. Sounds good. Be sure to check that out, guys. We've got Ra Hokum in the chat. Big up yourself, Ra, mate. Thank you for coming through. He said perfect viewing to distract from the grey skies outside. Couldn't have said it better, my brother. Jabbit Boxing said, good afternoon, lads. Good afternoon to yourself, Jabbit, all the way in Wales, my brother. Thank you for coming through. Right then, so we're going to start the show, as usual, with the fights from last week. So we'll start with Chev C4 Clark, who was against Efatobar Apoche. He got the win on points. What was your thoughts on this one, Serhan, if you caught it, brother?
It was a good performance. A little wider than I thought, but I thought it was the right winner.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah. I was quite impressed with Clark. I think he's very good. I really do. I really
Yes,
like
he
the
is.
lad.
A little
I
wider
really
than I
do.
thought. I thought it was a little closer than that, but the right guy won though.
Yeah, that's what matters in the end, Serhan, isn't it? Is that the right man gets the decision. DJ Pat, all the way from Sweden. Salute to you, send my brother. Thank you for coming through. He said, I'd do a quick drop in, going to check up on the Nation League in Sweden. Hope you get a magic talk this evening. Thank you, Pat, and I hope you get to come back and join us, mate. We'd love your insight into some of the topics we're going to be covering as the hour goes on. So big up your send, my brother. Right, so we'll move on then. Sugar Nunez. He got the TKO against Miguel Mariaga in the 6th round. A ferocious knockout. We expect it now from
What
Sugar,
a
don't we?
punch!
Let's be truth. He's a
What a
real one,
punch!
Eduardo Sugar Nunez. What was your thoughts
Yes,
on this one, Sir Hambro?
what a punch!
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just fantastic, mate. He really looks a real one, doesn't he? A live dog, a real dog.
yes, he does. I agree.
He does. Rahokam has said, I'd like to see Chev in a final eliminator now. Yeah, I think it's about there, Rah. I think it's about there, mate. I wouldn't disagree with it at all. I think Chev's really pushing on now. He's pushing on. So the next fight, this was Ginny Fuchs. You all seen the injury. I posted it probably 5 times because I've had an injury like that where I lost half my finger and a quarter of that finger. There's nothing worse when you're trying to fight than having most of your skin gone and your bone popping out. And yet Ginny Fuchs powered on and still got the 10th round points victory over Adelaida Ruiz. That is some performance against an undefeated fighter. And let's be honest, she's at the tail end of her career, Ginny Fuchs, in some people's eyes. What did you think to that one, Serhan?
I didn't expect her to turn back the clock a little bit, but man, she put a stunning performance, especially when we talk about the injury she had. Ugh. I mean, that just freaks you out a little bit, seeing that bone nearly come out.
Oh, well, it actually did, yeah. She had like 2 bits of bone sticking out of her thumb. It was horrific.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
it was you that
horrific.
posted it. I think it was you that posted on the X account. I think somebody else also did. That's just gruesome. Ooh. But
It
it says a
was.
lot about her and her courage to be able to pull it out, especially at that age. Because I didn't think she had anything left in the tank. But what a stirring performance for someone who went through what she went through.
Yeah, in my opinion, mate, everybody that I spoke to went for the opponent to win, obviously. Adelaide, she was undefeated. She was tough. But Ginny Fuchs rolled back them years and just showed her what a real boxer can do when they get the mind straight, when they focus and just
Yes,
get through that adversity.
yes,
Rod said Fuchs has been taken for too long to get the tap, to get to the top, sorry. Pitta, because she's a talent. Yeah, 100% raw, mate. That injury will be long in healing. Yeah, probably a year, mate, it could be, before that's ready to
at
like
least,
box again.
at least.
Yeah, Roz also added about Sugar Nunez. He got shafted by Riyadh season for his mandatory shot at Anto against Kakashi. Yeah, completely agree, mate. And that's a shame, to be honest. That is a real shame. A real shame. Because there's some good fights out there. Sugar Nunes is a real danger man, though. No one's going to want to fight him unless they have to.
They'll avoid
Mandatories are
him.
not going to get that chance, you know.
They'll avoid him.
Yeah, they will. They will. So next up, then, we're going to go Diego Pacheco, the main event of that evening. He KO'd Marcha Sulecki, and that was in the 6th round also. What did you make to that one? Pacheco looks good at 23, doesn't he?
He does. Perfect body punch. He was down, crippled. Party was over.
How far do you think Diego Pacheco can go, Serhan, from an American point of view? Because over here, we really rate him. The people that I speak to really think highly of Diego Pacheco.
Yeah, I think he's got some potential. You know, it's always fight per fight. You know, we're going to see what it's time for him to start stepping up. It's been Salute, even though he's a gritty guy, was basically passing a little bit. But you know, Pacheco did what he was supposed to do. Get him out of there with the first chance he got. Perfectly placed body punch. Good night.
How long till they're calling for the Canelo fight for Pacheco?
Some people are calling for it like real soon. I'd probably give it at least a year, especially if Canelo hangs around. You know,
Yeah.
but who knows what he's going to do at this point.
Yeah, completely agree. Håkan Johansson, all the way from Sweden. Thank you very much for joining, Håkan, brother. He's just saying, good evening, lads. Good evening to yourself. And Ra Håkam said, I like Diego. When I met him, he complimented my outfit. Did you have your hat on, Ra? Because Ra normally wears a big old circular hat. I can't remember what they're called now. It's like a fedora, but not quite, if you know what I mean. He's a gentleman, mate. He looks a scholar and a gentleman, does Ra Håkam. Diego obviously knows his style, Ra. He knows his style. Right, so we'll move on then. So the next we're going to go to the Inoue card, which obviously was in Tokyo, Japan at the Ariaka Arena. That was on Tuesday morning in the UK, probably Tuesday evening for you, was it?
It was Tuesday morning. It was, I think for you guys, the ring walk was like 5 hours after us, so like 8 o'clock. So I think it hit noon for the main event for you guys. So it was early morning,
12 p.m. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're 5
Yes.
hours behind, aren't you? Not forward. Sorry, matey. Yeah, my apologies. In Japan, it was
Very
half 9 at night. In Japan, it was half 9 at night on Tuesday because that's their prime time. Because the weekends are family time, aren't they? In Japan,
Yes.
They don't have boxing on a Saturday or Sunday because that's family time, and they're very adherent on that rule.
Correct.
Definitely. So we had. We'll start with Yoshi Takai. What a fight this was against Daigo Higa. This was a sensational fight. There was a knockdown in the 11th, which I didn't think was a knockdown, against Takai for Higa. And then Higa could have won that fight if he'd just won the last round, but no. Takai comes out and absolutely batters him. It could have even been a 10-8 without a knockdown. It was that dominant in the 12th. And that took and kept the title for Yoshiki Takai. I think it was an amazing performance. What was your thoughts?
Well, it closed the show out dramatically in that 12th round. I mean, my God. I mean, I don't know how the guys were still standing up after that 12th round, but yeah, he closed the show out perfectly. You said he was the whole despite the knockdown controversy, what a way to finish. I mean, it's a stirring performance on that side of the pond for him.
100%, mate. Japan love him as well. Like, he's a future Inoue opponent, maybe after Junto Nakatani. He could fight the winner, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail later. Rara said, I don't think Canelo wants a hungry young lion like Diego now. No, of course he doesn't. He's all about cherry picking now for the paydays. But he's earned that right, in truth.
He does, but don't be surprised if rumors with him and Jake Paul circulate after he beats Berlanga.
Oh, my God, I pray not. I pray not.
I'll take it under one condition. It's his final fight. After Jake Paul, there's no turning back. I don't mind the fight if it's his last fight.
I'd still rather not.
Reason why I say that, if he wants the money, he and Jake Paul, Paul's got a following, Canelo's got a following. They could probably do 1 million pay-per-views.
Yeah, an MVP will pay him 5-6 mil for the privilege as well, so he'll get well paid. Rod said Diego liked the hat. It's called a boater, so it's a boater hat. You know, the big round hat with it's almost like a fedora, but it's slightly different.
Right.
Big up to yourself, Ra, mate. And he said, Hirayuka is a great addition to the 140-pound scene. Hope there's a big card in Japan next year with him on. Well, I'm hearing, Ra, that there is going to be one next summer. What they're going to do is they're going to put Inoue and Nakatani on the same card in about April. And then late summer, they're going to try and make Nakatani and Inoue. And obviously, all the major Japanese fighters will be on the undercard. But we'll talk about that a little bit further later on. So we'll move now to the man Raz just mentioned, which was Andy Hirayuka, who knocked out 41-year-old Ismael Barroso in the 9th round. What did you make to that, mate? It was a sensational knockout. Not many expected it. A lot of people thought he'd do what he'd done to O'Hara Davies and just come out, but Andy Hirayoko was having none of it.
Yeah, I think he wanted to get him out of there, but also didn't help that Barrios was on the wrong side of his career. I didn't even know the guy was still fighting until this.
Yeah, he beat O'Hara Davies, didn't he? And it resurrected his career.
Yes.
And then he went over to Japan, and it was just a step too far for the 41-year-old. And he looked as old as he
Hirioka's
looked.
a real deal. Hirioka's a real deal.
He really is. He really is. Future star for me. Future star. So then we'll move on to the main event of that card. Inoue versus TJ Doheny. It was a 7th round stoppage to the body. Some people saying an illegal shot round the back. I didn't see it that way. I seen it as good body work, and he quit. What was your thoughts?
He did. He quit. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear about this disc thing, because if he had a disc, he'd still be on the canvas. He was up walking fine after he got hit with a punch, because he knows that punch was going to put him on the floor and keep him down for the count. He knew the beating was coming, because from the end of the 6th round onto the beginning of the 7th, Inoue started to turn it up like the monster that he is. I don't want to hear about anything about his disc or his back or anything. He flat out quit because he knew what was coming. I have an article on this. I detailed a word for word on my We Like Sports site as to why he quit. I mean, I'm sorry. I hate to say it, because TJ Doheny is as tough as nails as always. But when you're getting battered to the body like the way he was, and that punch hits you right there in the spot, he knew what was coming. It was the beginning of the end. He decided to just check out before the end really came.
Yeah, and to be honest, the size difference between TJ Doheny and Inoue, Doheny looked a couple of weights above. So you knew Inoue was going to go to the body and try and take that advantage away from him. And he did it superbly. And for the first 5 rounds, Inoue didn't seem to have that spring in his step. He was very flat. It wasn't the monster we used to see. And although I gave him every round on the watch-along, he was not the normal Inoue. He was just figuring him out, trying to make sure he didn't get caught like he did against Nere by the bigger man. And eventually, then body shots paid dividends, and he took him to the cleaners. And the guy quit.
Yeah, pretty much. I think he basically... I think the case of Doheny for the first couple of rounds was basically trying to survive. And even when he tried a couple of times, I think he knew the writing was on the wall. I mean, like you, I thought it was a shutout. Going into that.
That's how I had it. I had it 6 rounds to zip. I had 60-54 going into that 7th when he stopped him in the first 30 seconds. 100%. Jabit Boxing has said, bang on, lads. Anticlimactic finish. Was just starting to go through the gears. And from round 4, he turned it up a notch. Completely agree, Jabs, mate.
I agree 100%, word for word.
Yeah, and Mr. Hokum, big up Ra, he said, I've been critical of the choice of opponent, not good enough for an ATG and pound for pound top fighter like Inoue. I agree, matey, yeah. He'd already had 4 losses. It was not the fight we wanted to see. I'd rather see...
Well, we lost Jan for a second. I was going to pick it up real quick. The issue here with this was, you're right about that, but here's the thing. He was trying to get Sam Goodman, and Sam Goodman took the coward's way out of this fight, just largely because, he went to Japan and decided to tell him Inoue his face going to take his title. So when it was offered, Sam Goodman basically cowered it out, and that's what happened at the end of the day. So, but as far as Inoue goes, I agree with what was said earlier. It's not the same Inoue we've seen in recent fights, but in my honest opinion, I thought TJ Doheny was basically there to survive. He tried a couple things. He knew it wasn't going to work. I think Inoue just took his time with it and basically just handled business the way he should.
Yeah, sorry about that, Serhan. Someone was calling me, mate. He just completely cut me out the chat. Sorry.
I was telling him about the comment. I said the reason why he got TJ Doheny is because Sam Goodman cowered it out. And plus Inoue's fought top guy after top guy after top guy. Sometimes you deserve you give him one pass like this. He's probably going to fight another fight down the line. Of course, we're talking about Jono Nakatani down the line, but you're allowed to keep active fight like this, even though I like to see him against the best. But Inoue's fought top guy after top guy for the longest time. Sometimes you need to give the guy a break.
Yeah, Goodman though, apparently that's happening in December, and then they're going to have another fight in LA with him and Junto Nakatani on each other's card. So on the same card in LA, and then later in the summer, that's when that big fight's going to happen in Japan, Tokyo. So that would be good to see. Mr. Hokum has said, I prefer Picasso. And he's also said Goodman should be dropped from the rankings after the stunt he pulled.
I agree with that one.
Yeah,
that was an act of cowardice by Sam Goodman. He's a blunt coward, period. I don't want to hear about him. If he wants to take the fight, go in there and take it, get your ass beat, and get the hell out, and stay the hell out.
and take your money and run. You know what I mean? Take your money and run if that's
There you
what you
go.
want to do.
Exactly.
Definitely. Well, next then, Serhan Bravo, we're going to move on to the Boots versus Norman situation. Now, we all know what happened the other day. Karen Chukedzian against Boots 2 was supposed to be made. Matchroom lost the purse bids. They lost it by 250,000 US dollars to P2 Sports Promotion, P2 Box Promotions, which are Karen Chukedzian's German promoters. Did they not want that fight? Were they just fooling? Was there a tip off that this is the amount you need to bid to make sure you lose? What's your thoughts? Because he didn't want Norman fight and now he's lost that Chukedzian rematch. I don't know what's the point, because where's he going to go now? There's no one else really available at 140. So what's
Well,
he
let me
going to
just
do?
say this. I've been a backer of Brian Norman Jr. I still think the guy has potential. The whole situation is one of the weirdest I've ever seen. I don't know who. I don't know if it's a case of someone pricing himself out. I don't know if someone's quote ducking, which we're going to get into here in a little bit. But as far as Boots and that mandatory goes, I can't see him taking it because it makes no sense. But let me remind people, he was awarded that belt when Terrence Crawford moved up, and he didn't really earn it in the ring. He won it because that governing body, as we talked about countless times, went back to their stupid charade and just gift wrapped this guy the belt, and he got one defense against David Enanisian, which basically just took care of business in a homecoming. And now when Brian Norman comes out with this, probably you could argue that Norman probably priced himself out. I mean, I can understand it. But this is overall, it's a bad look for Boots because this is just a bad backfire. Because maybe he was thinking maybe he gets a bigger fight against him, or maybe someone like Terrence Crawford. And now all of this happens. He's probably going to have to more likely to vacate the belt and move up. So the whole thing is just egg on his face right now.
Yeah, completely agree, Serhan, mate. Norman team were offered $1.7 million, which is 15 times his highest purse. So I kind of agree with what Mr. Holcomb's saying. I'm going to get to his comment in a moment. It kind of does seem like a duck. But at the same time, you're fighting the best in the division. Doesn't Norman deserve to get a life-changing payment? And if Boots was going to
Yes.
get 3 million, then why shouldn't Norman get at least two? I think they asked for 2.2 million. So 500k more. Surely Eddie and Matchroom, if they believe in Boots, should have said, here you go. Here's your extra $500,000. It's only £350,000. Let's get this fight on. Let's prove out of the two undefeated boxers who's the best at 140. Then move him up to 147 and let him fight the likes of others. Sorry, up
Right.
to 154 from 147. My bad.
Correct.
But you know what I'm saying.
Correct.
Move up to 154 and maybe fight a Magramov or a Boachuk and see how tough he really is.
Later on, I'm going to distinguish a price out from a duck because I can tell you this much. I think they wanted the fight, but I think they was not going to shortchange their value because I think Norman can't. Let's remind people of this. He's managed by his father, and we've seen how fathers in the business end. You guys seen it over there with Chris Eubank Sr. managing his son. How family in the business sometimes can be absolutely bad for the sport.
Yeah, and also, you got to remember, this is going to sound trash because no fighter shouldn't back themselves. But Norman knows that pretty much he's going to lose his O. What is he, 26-0? He knows he's going to lose that O against Boots. Let's be truthful, because it was going to be in Philadelphia, Boots' hometown, on a Matchroom show. The Normans knew this was they had to cash out on this. They're not going to get another world title fight. They're not going to get another massive mega opportunity. And I think he deserves to be paid handsomely for doing it. I agree with the Normans on this, to be honest with you. I think he should have got the 2.2 mil if Boots was really that confident that he could beat him. Because he's losing his he's giving up everything. He's going to his backyard on his promotion to fight him in his own backyard. It's a big ask of an undefeated fighter. Norman could have just moved on and fought loads of bums for 100k each, but he wanted to have that standout fight. And I think Eddie Hearn should have been willing to pay him the extra 500k to make that happen.
Well, you guys know that's in England. Sometimes Eddie Hearn is an impossible person to deal business with. I mean, we've heard complaints up, down, left, and right over the years.
It's all about the paper, mate. He's a greedy fucker. Fast Eddie.
Oh, he is. I mean, and I remember you talk about. I mentioned the father. Sorry, I talked about the father's bath for the business. Remember, his father Barry Hearn was every bit the same way when he had Nigel Bennett and all them on your side of the pond. We're basically, you guys are reliving that here years later. Again. I will distinguish price out from duck here in a little bit when we get to the topic, but I think this is a bit of a price out. But I understand 100% Norman's point of view on this.
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments come in. Rara said it was a duck by Norman, but I also blame Hearn for not digging into his pocket. I completely agree. That's where I'm at. Eddie Hearn could have whipped out that extra £350,000, $500,000, and made this fight happen if he was that confident Boots was going to win. Boots just didn't have any options. Agreed, completely agreed. DJ Pat said Eddie did roll that dice and wanted it cheap. Boots will level up to 154, no doubt on that. He'll drop the IBF belt. It's only a matter of time. But it's only the email belt, isn't it? So Norman's attempt to hold Matchroom to ransom was understandable. Yeah, I agree, Raw, mate. That's exactly what I was saying, bro. I completely agree. Norman did outbid themselves. Nothing else. They never wanted Boots, and he is kryptonite. I agree with what you're saying, Pat. They didn't want to throw themselves under the bus for a minimal payment. But if the 2.2 million was hit, they wanted this fight. I speak to Brian Norman Sr. They do want this fight. They just wanted to be well compensated for giving up his own because they knew the chances of him getting a decision are very unlikely.
Especially the fight was going to take place in Philly.
Exactly, mate. In Philadelphia, it's Boots' hometown on a Matchroom show. Like I said, he knows his O's going to go pretty much. There's, what, a 90 to 10% chance that he'd have got a decision or won that fight. Rara said, I have good authority that the English level guys on Riyadh season got closer to 500k. Like net profit. So Norman has good reason to expect Hearn would cough up for a world unification fight. Exactly, Ra. Yeah. Hearn got Shakur and Cordina on Riyadh season, and both are coming off on a low stock. Yeah, and Shakur's getting $6 million for that against a lower weight opponent. So it says it all, doesn't it? So he couldn't have paid Norman 2.2 against Boots. He obviously doesn't either believe in Boots or he's just a tight-fisted sod. DJ Pat, this fight, what is next by Norman, will have 200 to 3,000, nothing more. Yeah, he was only on 150k a fight before that. Doesn't mean that if you step up that level, though, Pat, that you shouldn't get what that fight warrants. You know what I mean? The fight warrants more money. You should get paid more money. He's putting his O on the line. He's going to his backyard on his promotion. He deserves to be compensated for that.
I agree.
In my opinion, of course. Right, anyway, we'll leave that one there then, because I could talk about that all night, because I've got a lot of strong opinions on that one. But we'll move on. We've kind of touched on it already about the Junto Nakatani versus Inoue fight being made apparently next summer, late next summer. What's your thoughts on the fight first and foremost, Serhan?
Perfect time for it to be next year, because after next year, we're gonna maybe start to see Inoue start to hit that turn. But I think it's good enough to where it's going to be competitive.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense next year.
Yeah, Junto Nakatani is a real one, isn't he? He's a real opponent. There's a live dog in there. This will be a massive fight in Japan. Easily sell out the 55k Tokyo Dome. Maybe even more if they can fit more seats in. It'll be huge over there. I, for one, have been calling for this fight because I know Nakatani's not quite ready, but he will be by then. A year and a bit's time. Let's see it.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. Right, so we'll move on then. I was going to say that Turkey Al Sheikh is rumoured, this is just rumours, to be buying out Boxer. Because this was mainly on the stance that Boxer have not had any cards put on or anything for this year or next year. But then today they've gone and put out O'Hara Davies versus Adam Azim. So I don't know how true. And they've got a few fighters, obviously, on the Riyadh season card. But there was a lot of talk amongst boxing purists about this happening. What would you think if Turkey Al Sheikh bought up Boxer? And maybe even PBC?
Well, those promotions are, stuck in mud. So it makes all the sense for them in the world to go through with it. I mean, we talked about it, what PBC lost in terms of dollars not too long ago. I don't know what's going on over there with the Boxer promotion. I know there's a fight you mentioned. Adam Azim.
O'Hara Davies.
Yeah, I was posted I seen it just before we got on the show. It was talked about. I don't know if they come to a conclusion for that to be said or not. But after that, probably the best time to do it.
Yeah, it's October the 19th. It's the first Boxer card for a long while, and it's the first they put out for the end of this year. Normally, Boxer will have loads around Christmas and New Year. They've not put anything out until today. So that's what made the rumours, blow up. That they were obviously just looking to cash out. Like, Ben Shalom was just looking to give it up. He's not bothered anymore. But then he comes out with this card today. It's not a mega card, don't get me wrong. It's not a mega fight. Adam Azim against O'Hara Davies. Lee at No Smoke Sport actually said this was happening 2 weeks ago. And O'Hara Davies started mouthing off saying, I ain't doing no more interviews. You're chatting shit. I've heard nothing about this. And then bang, the fight comes out today. So he was spot on.
Alan Shalom is a weird guy.
Yeah, well, O'Hara Davies is too, to be quite honest.
Right.
Ra Hokum's just said, I would rather Junto stayed undisputed at bantam, and then when it happens, yeah, but he's going to move up to super bantam. We know he is. That fight has been destined since the trajectory of their careers, bro. Raz also said, intriguing, a way to get into Sky and Amazon. Definitely, mate. Yeah, he wants to cover all the markets, doesn't he, Mr. Turkey Al Sheikh, His Excellency? He wants to get the whole market covered. So let's see what happens with that, you know what I mean? Like I say, I was going to talk about that, and then this card was announced like an hour before we came on, so that changed the narrative for me a little bit, because there was no boxer cards for this or next year, which is unusual. But anyway, we'll move on from that. Jaidira Herrera, have you heard of him? Young buck from America, well, Puerto Rico, but based in America. Wait, is he Mexican? Sorry. But he's called out Lee Wood, our British Lee Wood, our champion.
Yeah, I saw the clip. I mean,
yeah. What do you think to that as a fight?
Probably it'll tell us a lot, because Lee Wood is no pushover. You saw what he just did to Josh Warrington not too long ago.
Yeah, Lee Wood's a real one, mate. But I don't know too much about Jaidira, to be honest. Is he as good as they're saying? Is he as good as like prospectors they're saying?
Well, if he fights Lee Wood, we're going to find out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Thank you, mate. Another one. Oh, sorry, Serhan, were you about to say something, mate?
No, go ahead.
Oh, no,
I'm done.
That's all right then, mate. We've got Campbell Hatton in the rematch against Jimmy Joe, James Flint. It's his only loss. Campbell Hatton lost to him, Ricky Hatton's son. It was a bad performance. He was very soundly beaten, but they're going back at it. And that's going to be soon. I think it's the 26th of October this year. Do you know much about Campbell Hatton?
I'd seen a little bit of highlights. I know you talk about the bloodlines. I mean, he should be. I mean, I'm hoping for his sake, he turns out very good. But we said it many times before. Son of a great father fighter doesn't turn out to be much. I mean, I know he's been hit and miss over there for you guys in London.
Yeah, just look at Chris Eubank Jr. Says it all, mate. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think he'll wind up that. I don't think he'll wind up that bad, because he's at least a little more disciplined than those two. I'll give him that.
Yeah, at least it's not popping dirty. Not like Chris Eubank, as I meant Conor Benn, of course. And that's only rumours, by the way. You know, the eggs were tainted. The eggs were tainted. Old egg fantastic.
Fertility
eggs
pills.
Benedict Arnold.
Yeah. The guy took pregnancy pills. That's why I need to know about that guy.
That's it. We've got a couple more comments just come in. We'll start with DJ Pat. Well, one fight we will not see is Inoue versus MJ, Akhmadaliev. Bob will avoid that fight to the maximum and do other fights. Yeah, completely agree with that, mate. Why do these youngsters always call out old men? Call out another young unbeaten bull. That's what I say, Raw, mate. That's what we need. And that's what makes Turkey Al Sheikh so good, is that he makes these fighters fight each other, rather than calling out old men and retired men and things of the past.
They want names on the resume.
Pat, sorry, sir. And DJ Pat just said, Flint will take Hatton once again, not getting why this is still going on, Hatton. I don't know, mate. I think Hatton's going to be focused this time. I can see a different result on that one, to be honest, Pat. Don't hold me to it. I'm not quoting it, but I'm just saying I think it might be different. And Ra said, great fighters usually mate with beautiful women to soften the genes of the offspring. You know that's true, Ra. You know that's true. Right then, so we're going to move on to the use of the word duck in boxing. Serhan wants to talk about why people use the word duck so often and what does it mean to you. So give me your opinion in the chat, fellas, and Serhan's going to tell us what it means to him. Go ahead, my brother.
In my time, I've seen only one instance that's been, actually two instances that's been, I could call a legit duck. One we talked about in nausea, when Riddick threw the belt in the garbage can to avoid Lennox Lewis. The second one was the whole fiasco between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, where they was presented with a contract from DAZN. Wilder turned it down to sign on with PBC. We get so caught up in this ideology where one fighter calls another fighter out, and they don't challenge, and they take another avenue for their business sake. They have this knee-jerk assumption that they want to throw the word duck, like as if they're avoiding it. You know, if the fight never happens, I can understand why you call it a duck. I mean, we've seen many instances of this. There's a difference between duck, pricing out, and stalling out. We talked about with Norman Jr. and Boots with the pricing out. We could talk about Mayweather Pacquiao or Canelo Triple G1 as stalling out.
Benavidez Canelo.
Yeah, everybody's already assuming with that one for now But for now, nobody knows if the fight's going to happen or not. We have people that need to just literally chill out with a particular word a little bit and wait till a lot of things play out. Because I get on and on and on about the behind the scenes aspect, the business aspect of it, because that's something people get too caught up in, especially now in this information technology era where everything is out there. You know, no one's going to put it out there in the first business, like who's ducking or who's not ducking. You know, everybody tells us every time one person says they're going to fight another guy, it's assumed as a duck. That, you know, you could say avoid, which is a lesser term. I can understand it, but if you're going to use the word complete duck, make sure you do your adequate research before you use it.
Yeah, here you go. Ra Hogan's gave us his definition. He said, my definition of a duck: a fight has to be in a position to be made, and the fighter does not have a better option in terms of pay or career, legacy or progression. That is the epitome of what a duck is. Fantastic, Ra. Thank you so much, mate. That is literally what a duck is. Someone who deliberately avoids someone even though it furthers his career, his legacy, his progression and pay. That's a duck. You know what I mean? If all four of them things line up and he still doesn't take the fight, that is the duck. That is the epitome of that, Ralph. Thank you so much, brother. Right, Serhan, we're going to move on, mate. We've got another topic, but we're going to leave that for now because I want to get to our special subject of the week as usual, because we've only got 28 minutes left already. We've carried on so much on the other topics. That's how good Boxing Hour can get when we're in tune and chatting. So we're going to move on to the top 10 boxers who never fulfilled their potential. Right, mine, as usual, are not in any kind of order. Like, I don't do mine like 10's the worst, 1's the best. I just do 10. So if yours are in order, that's fine. We'll still go from 10 to 1. But I'll start with Tommy Morrison.
Good
this
one.
Might sound mad because he were good, but the drugs and drink took over, and he ended up never being the same, was he? He was never the same. You know what I mean? He won a WBO title at 24 when he beat George Foreman. It's just, he still wasn't as good as he could have been. He could have been something very, very special. What do you think about Tommy Morrison, Serhan?
Well, he had a fight in 1991 against Ray Mercer for a championship where both fighters were undefeated on the come up, and he got to beat, and he basically got brutalized in one of the most surreal beatings in the corner. He succumbed to, I think, like 20 unanswered punches and was out, and basically was never the same. He said he won the title from Foreman. You know, he lost to Michael Bent the next 2 fights later, which cost him an $8 million payday against Lennox Lewis. He comes back and beats Razor Ruddock in a fight where the loser basically is done. But then he finally gets a shot at Lewis and was basically beaten to a drum, and it was basically it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, he was never the same. It was the drugs and drink on him, didn't it? Let's be truthful.
Right. Not that, also his chin wasn't even the greatest either.
Yeah, definitely. So who's your number 10, Serhan? Oh, sorry, actually, before you go, mate, we've just got another comment coming. Let me just get through this one. He's saying the Duke was a really hard-hitting prospect. Had hoped that he would have been the chosen one, but drugs and a life that destroyed him.
There's a documentary, if you have the ESPN app, on the 30 for 30 on Tommy Morrison that chronicles him to perfection. If you guys have the ESPN app, it's a recommend I watch to you, from me to you, that you watch it.
Okay, so what's your number 10, Serhan, brother?
You guys know him as a trainer, but as a fighter, Mark Breland. You guys know him as Deontay Wilder's trainer.
Yeah, I know of him.
Yeah, he was a gold medalist. He won 2 world title belts at welterweight. The problem with him was he was a case of maybe he stood at the amateurs a little bit too long, and he was basically too basic of a fighter, so to where he got found out real quick. In 1987, he lost a title unification to Marlon Starling, and then 3 years later, he bottomed out, losing another title to Aaron Davis. And after that fight, he had a minor comeback, but he was basically done because he was basically a fighter who was very, very chinny, very, very thin build, to where you hit him on the chin, he was gone.
Yeah, SWS Boxing said Audley, he's in my list, and Ra Hokum said Bo, and I know why Bo's in there. He's in my list as well, Ra, so I won't read the full comments out.
He is way, way up there, and I'm going to have a lot to say about that.
Yeah, so I'll go in with my number 9 then. This is going to surprise a lot of people. I'm going for Mike Tyson. Because if Mike Tyson, he was brilliant to start with. He was absolutely brilliant. And then after, obviously, the rape of the Miss World, the alleged rape, and he went to prison, he was never the same. Come on, he was getting knocked out by bums by the end of his career. That was not the Mike Tyson trajectory. So for me, he was a massive talent that very underperformed, a very big wasted talent. As good as he was and as good as his reputation is, and as good as people talk about him now, he could have been so much more. So much more. And for me, that is a massive under potential.
If we had an overrated list, he'd be on my number one. He's up there for me for the same reasons. I'll detail a little more. It's his fan. It has to do with his fan base and his people, especially Don King, gassing him up to something that he wasn't. And then when that night happened in Tokyo against James Buster Douglas in 1990, that was all she wrote. That's all you need to know.
SWS Boxing has said Mike Tyson was incredible. He was, Sam, in his early days, mate. If you watch him after he went to prison for raping Miss World, allegedly, when he got out, he was never the same fighter. Yeah, he won the odd fight here or there, but he got beat by some real bums, mate. He lost to some absolute journeymen. He lost to some people that he would have battered in back in 89, 90, he'd have killed. His hype train ended that day he got arrested, and he was never the same. So that's why I say he's a waste of potential. He is one of the top 10 boxers for me who never fulfilled their full potential.
The mistake he made was after the Spinks fight when he ditched his old management team for Don King. You knew he was about the theatrics at that point. It was a matter of time before he was found out.
Exactly. Chavit Boxing has added, Mike Tyson is the biggest what if in boxing history. If Gus didn't go past, Don King didn't get the way, etc., how much greater would he have been? Exactly, Jab. That's my point, brother. He could have been the greatest of all time. He could have been talked about like Muhammad Ali, not just as a banger. DJ Pat has said, Tyson is a real sad story. Oh, sorry, my comment's cutting off. Tyson is a real sad story, but after that loss in Tokyo, Don King destroyed him totally. Facts. Ross reading that one. That's another one off my list, Ross. I won't read your comment out just yet, mate. Lennox Lewis did come too late for Mike Tyson. It should have been both in the prime, yeah, for sure. And you wouldn't have ruled Tyson out there either.
Yeah, so we're on to your
number 9, Serhan, my brother.
You ready to go on a time warp? Because we're going to go back 100 years.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun with this. There's a fighter named Jack Sharkey. He came after Jack Dempsey and before Joe Louis. He was sort of like a Tyson Fury, Andrew Galata of his time. Good counterpunching, sort of stylistic like Fury, but was a little wild and undisciplined in the ring. He had a controversial loss to Jack Dempsey in 1927 due to fouls, claimed a low blow set up a knockout, which I saw the replay when I was looking at this guy. The problem was, it was right on the hip bone, but still, when he's looking at the referee, Jack Dempsey clocked him, because in the 1920s, Jack Dempsey was like a Mike Tyson where he could hit you and clock you and the party was over. He had a disqualification loss from Max Schmeling in one of the most bizarre circumstances where he hits a fighter with a low blow, not much of a low blow, but was disqualified instantly. No warning, no point, was just DQ'd.
He fought Joe Louis as well, didn't he, Serhan?
Yeah, Joe Louis was his last fight.
That's from Stabit Boxing.
Louis was last fight. Louis just battered the shit out of him, knocked him down like 6 times in the last 2 rounds of that fight. Jack Sharkey was caught in between eras, but because he was so wild and inconsistent in and out of the ring, he had a chance to be somewhere in the middle there. But because of his inconsistencies, he's on that list.
Yeah, that's a fair call, mate. That's a fair call. Yeah, we're on Gabbit Boxing. Jack Dempsey, my favourite boxer in my top 10. Heavyweights, absolute terrier. 8 Boxing, big up yourself, matey. Thank you for joining. If you've not joined us before, please hit that subscribe button. Rahokam is saying Angel Firpo didn't train properly or learn any fundamentals. It's a fair comment. So we move on to my number 7, don't we, guys?
8.
My number 8. I went for Adrian Broner. Now, I know people are going to say he's trash. And yes, he was trash, but he talked a good talk. He had all the experience in the amateurs. He looked like he was going to be the real deal. Did the problem, Broner? He just never turned up, mate. His last fight, he lost to Blair Cobbs. He's just a shower of shite, shall I say. Just a complete waste of a real good talent because he was too busy about a billion with his gold chains trying to be Floyd Mayweather. Screwed the game for all the dough he could get and got absolutely shown up. Just a waste, man, and that's all I'm going to say on him because he ain't worth the time.
I'm just going to say we see this same act here in Cincinnati because he's been in and out of the Kenton County Detention Center for numerous charges, especially child support and failure to show up in court. That's what you need to know about the guy.
I nearly added one of your fighters, Jared Anderson, but I can't say he's really an unforgotten talent yet because he's not really had a chance. He could still come back.
Right. But yeah, I just want to throw it out there about Adrian Broner.
Eight Boxing has said my favourite is Oscar El Ringo Benavina. That's a
Oscar
fucking fair
Bonavena.
shout.
He fought
Excuse my language.
he
I
fought
didn't mean
the
to swear. I apologise.
no. You're fine. He fought the best in those days.
DJ Pat has said that fight. I remember that fight. He didn't start verbal fight. That was after the Pac-Man fight, was it? Yeah, it was, mate.
Yeah.
The Blair Cobbs that he lost to last time was literally a couple of months ago on the Don King show live on YouTube. I was in the trap house watching it. Literally
I didn't
in
even know
that
Don
trap
King was still
house.
fight. I didn't even know Don King was still promoting until that card.
Yeah, neither did I, matey. I thought he were gone. I thought he'd been finished. But yeah, he were back. So we're on to number 8 for you, Serhan, my brother. What you got?
I'm going to your side of the pond for this one. Naseem Hamed.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to think you're weird for this, but I agree. He could have been so much more special than he was.
He caught too much of a twisted theatrics. Brilliant style for a featherweight. He had surreal power, especially from the angles he hit you from. Because when he hit you from those angles, you're on the canvas. Won the 3 different championship belts. Dropped one of them to duck one Manuel Marquez, and that's an actual duck. And of course, he had an embarrassing loss to Marco Antonio Pereira, where after that he was just basically non-existent. He had a fight against Manuel Calvo, I think a year later, and he basically had no interest in the sport anymore. But for a guy in that little weight, those weight divisions, he could have been up there amongst the all-time greats.
100%. 8 Boxing has said Inoue's next rival, Javante, there's no chance on earth, mate. If Inoue moves up past 126, he will be knocked out, and Javante would knock him out at 135 with absolute ease. There is no way that's happening. He'll move up one more division after he deals with Junto Nakatani next summer, and maybe Takai, and maybe even Arioka, but he will not move up to fight Javante at 135 or 140 because he would be killed, mate. But thank you for your comments, sir. Raz said Hamed also didn't get involved in the clubbing lifestyle too soon. No, he just ended up getting in a McLaren supercar, didn't he, and running someone over and paralysing them. He took the mick and went to prison and came out as fat as you can get. He wasted what could have been a terrific career because he was one of the greatest. To have that sort of power, it's like Inoue, that sort of power at such a low weight. He could have dominated divisions for years to come.
Right.
And he threw it all away. Anyway, move on to number 7. I'm going for Ike Biabuche. You know how good he was. 20 wins. He went straight up, 20 wins. And then he was charged with attempted rape and kidnap. He beat the likes of Chris Bird,
teenager.
David Tua. You know, what a waste of a talent. The Nigerian-American, absolute warrior. But then things outside the ring took his career swiftly away. What's your thoughts on Ike Biabuche?
He was destined to be the next great heavyweight. But all that said, what you said, it was over a teenager. That's all you need to know about him.
Yeah, it was a hooker as well, wasn't it? A hooker, teenage hooker.
I believe so.
Yeah, because he was kidnapped and raped a teenage call girl because she wouldn't charge him less for being a professional boxer. Allegedly. Right, let's move on then, Serhan. What's your number 7, my brother?
Terrible Terry Norris. Super welterweight from the early 90s. 3 times he was a super welterweight champion. At one point, he was a serious challenger for the top pound-for-pound spot when Julio Cesar Chavez and Pernell Whitaker was occupying that spot. The problem with him was he lived in the gym. He was too much of a gym rat, had so many sparring wars, had a foul temperament, was he was known for hitting guys when they were down. And then as he was coming up, he had an embarrassing loss to Simon Brown, who was on the downside of his career. He was knocked out with one punch. Then all of his bad habits really took over when he had 2 fights against Luis Santana where he was disqualified both times for blatantly knocking down a fighter when he was already down. Although the rumor that's the second fight, maybe the rumor saying Santana overreacted to get an easy DQ win, but nobody knows. But at that point, everything started to add up. By the time he got to 30, he started to have brain trauma, and now he's suffering from Parkinson's. But he was a guy that offensively was a buzzsaw, but once he was found out, he was basically done.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. That's a good call. Ra Hokema said, Tony Ayala Jr. He was going to be in my list, but I didn't put him in the end because I didn't know too much about him in truth. But he said he's a 20-0, then also got done for rape. Yeah.
Let me get this guy real quick so you guys understand. I know you asked about this on another show. He was talked about to fight Roberto Duran after Duran beat Davey Moore. That's when those allegations came up. It was over the fact that this guy broke into a woman's house and went berserk. I won't go into it because it is beyond graphic. He did 30. He was scheduled to do 35 years. Some way, somehow, he got released in 15. What this guy did, and when he got out, he went to the house of that same lady again, was shot, wound up in jail again, got out, got busy, did the same thing to a minor, went back into prison 10 years, came back and basically overdosed and killed himself. We're not giving this guy the time of day anymore because you said the other day, we don't give the time to the scumbags. Tony Ayala Jr. is the poster child of a scumbag in our sport. Even worse than James Butler, even worse than Panama Lewis.
100%. SWS Boxing saying Tony Yoka. That's actually a good shout, you know. He was such a good Olympian, such a good amateur. And as a heavyweight in the real game, he's trash. He gets banged up by everyone. So that's a good call, Sammy, but he's not in my list, mate. Right, so we move on. I'm on to number 6. I've gone for Edwin Valero. Edwin Valero was 18 wins, 18 fights, 18 knockouts. He looked like the real deal. But then he had a stint in the mental hospital, which obviously changed a few things. And then he murdered his pregnant girlfriend, or his pregnant wife, and he got also done for DUI and drug offences. He was a very good fighter, you know what I mean? He was a very good fighter. He ended up killing himself in prison. What a waste of a talent.
There was talking about him fighting Manny Pacquiao at one point.
Yeah, they were saying he was the new Pacquiao, wasn't they? They were saying he was the new Pacquiao, the next Pacquiao.
Yeah, they were talking about him and Pacquiao maybe crossing paths at one point for that distinction.
Yeah, Sam's just said Yoka ain't in top 10, just saying he is one. Yeah, I get you, Sam. That's what I meant, matey. Yeah, he's not on my list, but yeah, definitely. Damn, didn't know he was a repeat offender. Talking to you, Serhan, about
Tony Ayala
Jr.
Yeah, I'm not giving this guy the time of day anymore because we talk about the phrase scumbag in our sport because we have a lot of bad people. I mean, this guy makes Panama Lewis look like a saint. That's how bad Tony Ayala Jr. was as a person in and out of the ring.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Right, we better start moving along, Serhan. We've got 14 minutes left, mate, and Joel's got an interview. So what's your number 6, my brother?
My number 6 is Hector Camacho. We talked about this the other day. The most raw talent, decorated amateur career, just like Nassim Hamed, the in-and-out party lifestyle. The problem is he had a period of 7 years where he only had 11 fights, and they were mediocre fights. It was basically took a beating from Julio Cesar Chavez in '92, where he was basically done at that point. And of course, we know that the chronicle of the substance abuse and what happened to him tragically in 2012 when he got murdered.
Yeah, that is sad, mate. Sat in his car, and it was his school friend who killed him as well. He was one of his old school friends, allegedly. Such a shame for such a great man. So I'll move on to number 5. I went for Kell Brook. Now, Kell Brook, we all know, was on a great trajectory. He was doing very well. Went over to the States, won a world title, beat Showtime Sean Porter. Looked fantastic. And then Eddie Hearn decides, I know, I'm going to cash in on my best fighter and stick him in multiple weights above against Gennady Golovkin. What was he thinking? Why did he do it? Completely ruined his career. Yes, he came back and beat Amir Khan, but Khan was 6 years past his best. Why did he waste Kell Brook's career like that? Special K was special. And he ruined him by putting him in with Triple G. What was he thinking?
Put that fight in the category of fights that had no business taking place. When I heard that fight happen, I just literally facepalmed myself. Like, what are you thinking?
It just completely derailed his career for no reason. Just for it. Well,
exactly.
I'll tell you the reason. Same as always with Hasdeder. Bit of papers there. Pimping that paper, sir.
Yes.
Definitely. So what's your number 5, Serhan, brother?
Let's see, put my list up here. This one is Donald Curry, a welterweight who was the first undisputed welterweight champ in the 3-belt era. You know, out of nowhere, he won the championship. He was so possessively hungry with Sugar Ray Leonard, he lost focus. So what happens in '86? He fights a well-known fighter from your side of the pond. I'm sure you guys know where we're about to go. Lloyd Hunnigan.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Legend,
Lloyd Hunnigan, with awkward style, makes Donald Curry look real bad. Gets a decision, a technical decision under crazy circumstances. He had one chance to come back against Mike McCallum, was laid out cold, and that's basically it. His career is marred by weight mismanagement, career mismanagement, bad business decisions, and it basically was it. The McCallum fight basically sunk him.
100%. Sammy SWS Boxing has just asked, who would have won Prime Khan or Prime Kell? Prime Kell all day long, mate. Would have absolutely
Kell Brook any day of the weekend, twice on Sunday.
Every time, every single time. And Rahokam said Brook was always bigger and better than Khan. Sorry, he just said bigger than Khan. I did the better.
Bigger and better.
Sure I think anyway. Definitely. So we move on to number 4. I'm going for Audley Harrison, the A-Train. He was such a good amateur, Olympic gold medalist, looked like the real deal, got into the pros, got absolutely knocked out. He had such a glass jaw, he got taken to the cleaners every time he stepped up in a real fight. What
I
was your thoughts
believe
on
they
the
tell.
8 train?
I believe he came to the States a couple of times as he was on the ESPN shows and he had interviews, and they were propping him up real well.
He was such a good amateur, Serhan. He was such a good amateur. We really thought he was the real deal. And then one
Yeah,
night in the rain, he got found out. He was just, oh my God, just such a glass jaw. Every time he got touched on the whiskers, man went down.
was it one of those guys, David Price?
David Price, yeah. I think, did Dillian White knock him out as well at some point? Am I imagining
Maybe
that?
later on, but yeah, I know David Price was one of them.
Yeah. And he had a glass jaw himself.
Yeah, Price had some potential like him, but like he
He
said,
could
he
have
had a
been on
real
this
glass
list.
jaw.
Price could have been on this list, to be honest, but I completely forgot about him, to be quite honest with you. I would have probably put
Right.
Price as number 10 instead of Tommy.
Right.
So you're number 4, Serhan, brother.
Riddick Bowe, 88 silver
Oh,
medal.
he's my number 3. He's my number 3.
We'll tag team because we'll speed up a little bit. I'll add them. If you want to add, go ahead. We talked about him as a nauseum. 88 silver medalist, lost to Lennox Lewis, won the title, threw the belt in the garbage can to duck Lennox Lewis. Him and his management team became all about the theatrics, and his theatrics we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the crazy things. That's what he was about in the end. Biggest thing with him though, after he won the championship, he basically no longer gave it. Yeah, he no longer gave a shit because, sorry for the language, but because Riddick Bowe, as I told you before, they had to ban him from the kitchen and lock the refrigerator to prevent him from eating.
Yeah, he literally ate himself out of world contention, didn't he? That's the truth. All I had was he could have been a superstar, but he ate himself out of it. That's all I was going to say on him, to be quite honest with you, bro. So we'll move on to your number 3, Serhan. Oh, sorry, one comment first, mate. SWS has just said Wilder beat him, Harrison. Yeah, Deontay Wilder knocked out Audley. I think it was in the first round. First minute of the first round, if I remember correctly.
Well, number 3, I'm not going to add because you mentioned him earlier. It was Ike Ibuchi. We talked about the whole thing. When he knocked out Chris Bird, he was slated to fight Michael Grant in a title eliminator for the winner to fight Lennox Lewis. That's when all the unfortunate circumstances happened.
Yeah. It's such a shame as well, because what a talent he could have been, Ike Ibuchi. He was like literally like one of them giants you could see really controlling the heavyweight division. What made him go to them bad decisions? You don't know what's going through someone's napper, do you?
Well, that's what we talked. I talked to you about a couple of weeks ago when we mentioned James Butler and the whole Louis Rusko, Billy Collins fiasco. What goes through these guys' minds thinking all of this garbage? I mean,
they've got the world at their feet.
And we talked about just Tony, the worst one of them all, Tony Ayala. What do these guys think? Now, of course, Tony Ayala's a different type of scumbag. I'm not going to give him the time of day, but just in general, what do these guys think?
Yeah, they've got the world at their feet and they throw it all away for what's not going to gain them anything. It's just crazy, mate. It's like these rap superstars that go out and they're making millions from songs and they go and rob someone for $50 and a watch. It's like you don't even need that. You're just doing it to try and act bad. Like, grow the hell up and just keep doing what you're doing and make your millions and go and retire in the village somewhere. You don't need to be robbing people for $50 just to look like a bad man. You're just going to end up on the RICO charge and life in prison. You know what I mean?
Or raping women out of nowhere for necessity.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like they're trying to act too big for their boots, mate. And it's just pathetic. It's embarrassing, to be truthful. It's like they care more about the lifestyle than the music and the boxing or the fighting or the living.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? It's mad. Right, so number 2, this might be a controversial one. I'm going for David Tua. I think David Tua could have been something very special from New Zealand, or Fiji it was from, but New Zealand based. He looked so good, but just seemed to, like, every time it was a world title fight, seemed to, like, just taper off. And he never seemed to fulfill that potential. He beat the likes of Chris Bird. He lost to Chris Bird, Lennox Lewis. He lost to Ike Ibuchi.
The problem with him was he came in the wrong era when the heavyweights started getting bigger and bigger, like the Lewis and the Klitschko's, 6'6", 6'7". Maybe the thing with him was more misfortune. He had that left hook when he hit you around the canvas, but you said when he fought the top guys, he not did lose. He basically was shut out.
He had no answer, did he? He had no answer. But he looked such a good one. In the amateurs, he was fantastic. When he first come on the scene, he was the new big thing. My brother swore by him. My brother's been a boxing fan since he was born. Like, absolutely idolised David Tua. He was promising me he's going to be the next world champion, and it never happened. He was devastated, but you can see why. He was quite small, wasn't he? And Rahokam said Ibuchi was actually diagnosed as schizophrenic in the end. I didn't know that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Gabby Boxing said his knockout of John Ruiz Jr.
John
was one of
Ruiz
the most
Jr.
brutal he's ever seen. John Ruiz Jr. didn't AJ beat him early in his career? Was
Yeah.
it AJ? Or
No,
was it
David Hay.
Fury? Oh, David Hay, that's it. David Hay beat him when he was like first switching over to heavyweight before he got the Klitschko fight, where his little toe let him down. I'll tell you what, if it was a heavyweight letdown, David Hay could have been one because he was fantastic as a cruiser. But anyway,
I just
I
missed putting him
digress.
on there.
Yeah. What's your number 2, Serhan, my brother?
You mentioned him earlier, Tommy Morrison, because I had lived through this. Very one of those guys hit and get hit, but the problem was when he got hit, he was it. I mean, that's all you need to know. We talked about the outside of the ring stuff. As I said, if you guys want to watch a documentary on ESPN about him, it sums up his life in a nutshell and his career.
Yeah, you'll probably find it on YouTube if you check as well. YouTube have all that sort of stuff, ESPN interviews and documentaries. So you'll probably find it on there, guys. So check it out. If Serhan recommends it, it'll be good. Right, so we move on to number 1 then. We've got 4 minutes left. So I went for Paul Spadafora. Do you remember this guy? He beat Israel Cardona. I know he won the IBF lightweight world title, but then in 2003, he got involved in a police chase and got shot in his Achilles after he shot his pregnant wife. He shot his pregnant girlfriend, sorry. Like, how crazy is that? Why would you do that? You're on the crest of a wave. You're looking like a future Hall of Famer, and you go and shoot your pregnant girlfriend and then get in a car chase with the police and get yourself shot in one of the most vital organs that you need for boxing, your Achilles. Because without that, you've got no spring in your step. You can't fight. Completely derailed what was an amazing career. He had 75 amateur fights, won 70 of them. And in the pros, he was I think he was 23-0 or something. Like, what
he
was
talked about fighting Floyd Mayweather. He had a unification fight set up with Floyd Mayweather when that happened.
Yeah, in 2003, yeah. It was 1999 when he won his world title. Then 2003, it was all looking like he's going to go on to a new trajectory, become a real superstar. And then he goes and shoots his pregnant girlfriend. Like, what was he thinking, mate? What do these guys think? Anyway, we'll leave that one there.
We need to have a segment on that because I have a boatload to say.
Yeah, we'll tell you what, add it to the next show, Serhan. We'll do that, brother.
Let's do it.
Right, what's your number 1, my brother? What's your number 1?
I just want quick, because we already talked about him, Mike Tyson. We set it up. It's been documented a billion times, probably be documented a billion more. After the Buster Douglas fight and after he went to Don King, that's all she wrote.
Yeah, completely derailed his career. He would just take from him, weren't he?
Right.
He ruined him. Ruined what could have been a good one. Well, we've got 2 minutes left, Serhan. So if you want to go off on a rant about anything, mate, to close the segment, the floor is yours, my brother.
We get in this ideology day in and day out. Once again, we feel like we have to rehash this about the business aspect of the sport that nobody pays too closer attention to. We have a huge issue with misperception. I see it a lot in all of this community that you and I are in. And all of a sudden, we have people that are starting to get personal agendas when it comes to such things. Let me remind people of this. Guys like Jim and myself, we're here to enjoy this because we like to do this. There are some people that are trying to take this extremely far in this, what we call clickbait or whatever the hell you want to call it, lies, manipulation, or whatever. This whole thing needs to stop. Because when I was in this thing years back, this sort of thing, I walked out of it. Because it gets annoying, it gets dreadful, it gets condensing when you have 6-7 videos, 6-7 tweets, 6-7 posts, or 6-7 live streams over the same stupid stuff day in and day out, all because you want to fulfill a personal narrative over whatever. I'm seeing this a lot with Canelo fans. It's the whole Canelo Crawford fiasco. And this ideology, when using such crazy terminology, I like to use the word like Canelo sexual or Bud sexual, whatever the hell it is. Like, what in the world are you guys thinking about using such words? Congratulations. You guys are just flat out toxic, and you're ruining it for guys like him and myself. Because I see him in his shows, and I see his pal, Joe Green. They do this, and they bust their tails doing it the right way. And I see 90% of you guys out here with, 80 layers of makeup, shirts off, and curly hair, using some of those despicable things to try, we call engagement farming. I mean, if you guys are going to do this stuff, if you're not going to do it the right way, please leave. Because guys like him and Joe and myself, some of you guys out there, I can go on a whole list of good ones in here. We're doing it the right way. We want to do things right way, get the right information out, so you guys can, so we can get the whole community going in a full circle the right way. It's you toxic morons out here that just need to flat out either do it right or just get the hell out.
100%. Thank you so much, Serhan, mate. What a lovely way to end the show. Big up my brother. Check him out on X, Serhan on X. He also does the write-ups for
We Like Sports.
We Like Sports. Make sure you download them, give him a read. It's absolutely enthralling write-ups. He really is good at what he does. So check him out. Big up yourself for joining in. I appreciate every single one of you in the chat, everyone for watching. Please give a like, follow, share, and subscribe to myself, to Boxing Media Hub. We love every single one of you, and I hope you join us next week, same time, Thursday, 5 p.m. UK, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. Big up yourself. We're going to leave you with a little bit of, once we find out, a bit of Bet Connolly.
Hi, I'm Bet Connolly. You're watching Boxing Media Hub. Don't forget to subscribe,